PR Connections Radio presents. This show is brought to you by Paid Per Letter. Write letters and make a difference. paidperletter.com/Uncle Dan.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we are going to be having the privilege of speaking with Zarina. She's a passionate leader who's at the forefront of an innovative leadership practice in the nonprofit sector. And as well, she also has 2 master's degrees, one in human resource management and one in leadership, as well as she is currently pursuing her educational doctorates. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I'm super excited that this year I'll actually be wrapping up my last few classes, my coursework for my educational doctorate. And next year, starting January, I'll be engaged in a pretty robust dissertation process through the end of 2026 when I'll graduate in December. Sorry, 2025.
So your degrees were in foundership, leadership, or your leadership. Was one of them leadership, or was one of it just straight up? What's the difference between foundership, leadership, and leadership? That's my question.
So my first master's HR, my second master's is in leadership, and my educational doctorate is the major is leadership with a focus on organizational leadership.
Okay, so yeah, because I was wondering how it differs from traditional leadership theories and such like that.
I think from a foundational place, it is the same. I think that my focus, it being an educational doctorate, it's geared towards individuals. It's still heavily research-based, but it's geared towards individuals who would be in the education field. So whether they're administrators or professors, the educational doctorate is better aligned to those professionals.
Gotcha. And do you feel like learning about that is what encouraged you to start Dunk4Dreams, or do you feel like it was your thesis for your doctorate's program that's encouraged you to start that, or did you start it before or after? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so my leadership master's, my second master's came about because at the time I just finished wrapping up my HR degree and the market was a little bit weird. Leadership is always something that I've been interested in, and I think it aligns really well with HR as well. So that's why I pursued a master's in leadership. And when I started my master's program, it kind of just reignited this passion that I have for HR and continue to fuel this interest that I have for leadership. Leadership is interesting because it continues to evolve, and I think that's why I find it exciting.
Right.
I also feel like it's real-time relative to me, for sure. So the decision to go into a doctorate for leadership was in part because I was super excited about continuing my academia behind leadership, but also because in my mind, I come from a long line of service workers and educators. And in my mind, the end goal really is for me is to spend my days helping people by way of education. So helping small businesses, helping entrepreneurs, helping individuals by way of the things that I've learned. There's components in HR and leadership that are all very well aligned that we can use in our day-to-day to help ourselves and to help other people.
Okay, that's amazing. So I'm wondering, could you just outline some key principles or components of foundership leadership that you advocate for in your organization?
Yeah, so there's a concept called the founder's mindset. Definitely something that resonates with me. And it's definitely an ideology that I would say that I'm an advocate for, a huge proponent for. So within Dunk4Dreams, we have about 20 volunteers. They are global volunteers, very highly diverse team I have. And they're everywhere. Some of them are in the Ukraine, some of them in the United Emirates, Jamaica, Canada. There are people working remotely in the US as well. And the one thing that I find works really well is to empower my team and others wherever I can to tap into their own leadership attributes and use those skills, own those skills, so to help themselves and to help others. Right. The world is in a very interesting place right now. The markets are very interesting, and I found myself looking for a clear directive after a series of layoffs as a result of the pandemic. And I think that when you find yourself in a circumstance where there's not any clear directives, or there hasn't been any plans set out, there is no guidelines, there's no goals been established,
Right.
it's hard to find your footing.
Right.
So for me personally, when I found myself being laid off for the second time from a job that I loved in a field that I'd been working in almost a decade at the time,
Right.
I really felt like a lot of people that, and asked the question, like, who is leading this charge? I'm, looking for answers, looking for goals, looking for purpose, really. I've always been an advocate of community service, helping people, obviously educating wherever I could. So, following my layoff, I had came up with a couple of business ideas, a couple of concepts that I got really excited about leading. One of which was, or is, Dunk4Dreams, so my nonprofit.
That's beautiful. And I'm wondering, how do you see Dunk4Dreams achieving certain goals, when they have to overcome certain challenges like that for certain individuals? Like, for example, you said you couldn't really measure success of leadership, or you couldn't really measure what leaders, who's making these decisions, what's going on within the organization, and all the other different types of challenges. How do these principles contribute to fostering the culture of innovation and collaboration and community engagement within Dunk4Dreams? I know that's kind of two separate questions, but I've kind of merged them into one, because given all the challenges you've had to overcome, do you have any advice, or however you'd like to answer that, really?
Yeah. So I think that for me, I had to, obviously I had, like I said, an abundance of experience in talent acquisition, HR. I'd been doing that for 10 years. I had been studying leadership theory at that point for 6 years before the pandemic. So for me, following the waves of layoffs, even after I was laid off, seeing other people laid off, it was profound. And in my mind, I was like, well, you have all of this experience in these areas that could, in fact, be helpful to people. So you should look to structure your goals around that. You should look to establish processes and guidelines for yourselves around what makes you truly happy and what you're good at. So, I had to tap into my inner leadership skills, my leadership attributes. And I think that as a founder and a leader, I encourage that in all of my team members. And what it does is it obviously gives people a heightened sense of accountability,
right?
And ownership. And by way of that, what it does is you're helping people and you're inspiring people at the same time. So, for example, I don't assign projects to my team. They understand what the vision and the organizational over the strategy is for the org, and they create their own projects to support that vision. I don't set them deadlines for the projects. They set their own deadlines, and I do that on purpose because they are going to know intrinsically better than I am any day of the week how long it's going to take to build an e-commerce site, or how long it's going to take to build out a robust social media initiative. So because they know better than I do, what I have to do as a leader is I have to trust that they have the skills to do it, but they're still going to need the leadership. So what I do is I have them to reach out to me. I don't reach out to them. They have to reach out to me on a week-to-week basis and let me know what is working, what is not working, what can I, as your leader, do to ensure the success of your project. Do you need more resources? Do you need more people resources? Do you need tools? Do you need technology? Do you need a plugin? Like, whatever it is, you tell me what you need. And just like any other organization, we do our pros and our cons. We weigh up what makes sense. And I'm actually happy to say that I have never told my team no to anything to date, with the exception of no to meetings on Mondays and Fridays for everybody. I mean, if they want to have meetings amongst themselves, that's fine. I'll support that. But I don't even require my folks to turn up for meetings. They understand that if they can't be there, it's their responsibility to bring themselves up to speed. It's been working swimmingly for over a year now.
So I definitely hear like some type of communication background there, because when you said that you give your they pick their subject, they're the ones doing the research, so they're going to know it better than anyone else if they're going to be putting in that work. And if they come for guidance, they'll be coming straight to you for the guidance. I feel like that structure is really great. And it makes me wonder about how that's measurable. Like how do you measure the impact that's like what measurable impact have you observed as a result of implementing this leadership framework within your organization?
That's a great question. So it's definitely qualitative.
Oh, okay.
I can I see that for the people that I have onboarded, we have very little turnover in our volunteers. Most of the volunteers that are with me have been with me since the beginning at this stage. What I've noticed is that individuals who are wholly ready to adopt this ideology of a founder's mindset, even for themselves, they're the ones who are more productive. Those are the ones that are more engaging. Those are the people that when we introduce new people to the team, they go right to work. And they're the ones that continue to reinforce this culture and this concept of individual leadership, right? They're literally an army of individual leaders. So I've observed that. They're happier. I don't mandate how much time they volunteer. On the postings, you've got to say, well, put a time frame. So I always say 5 to 10 hours, but when I do my interviews with prospect volunteers, the first thing I tell them is that is really, you decide how much time. Most of my team, we've metriced it, are spending about 2 to 5 hours online a week, and they're highly productive. We haven't missed any deadlines.
Wow.
And again, it's because they are aware of their projects and their metrics and what they need to do to reach their goals. Week to week, they're checking in with me to get resources or to clear blocks for guidance. If it could be, well, I'm stuck on this and I can't get this done, and I'm the go-to person. While I may not be the person to help you build out the code, I can absolutely, put you in touch with the right resource. We also don't work in silos, so it's normal for somebody like my Google Ads manager to reach out directly to my web technologies director. There is no hierarchy. There is no dotted line. Everybody communicates with me week to week, just so I have a good gauge on what is happening. So if somebody says, I'm going to be offline this week, I've got finals, or I'm having a baby, or I've started college, whatever, everybody has these milestones. I want them to have those milestones. I don't want them thinking about, I didn't get this done and I didn't get that done. Because typically in all of our roles, I have 4 and 5 volunteers assigned to each role. So we have 4 web developers, 3 UX designers, 4 social media people, 2 Google Ads, 2 marketing coordinators, manufacturing coordinators. We do that on purpose. I do that on purpose so that they have that flexibility.
Right.
I want them to have the flexibility to balance all of the things that are most of their highest interest, as well as the org needs. I can do that with flexibility. So I'm a huge advocate of remote work, flexibility. It works. People will find the time. If they're, in the Ukraine and online at 2:00 in the morning, they know that we're not having meetings. We leverage tools like Slack primarily for, video messaging. I haven't spoke to my web developer in probably 9 months, but we work together daily.
No, honestly, I agree with everything that you're saying. And the reason I'm saying wow so much is because I'm listening to you speak and I'm just saying, yes, she's looking into the future. She is working for the future. She's making a structure of a new organization, a new organizational structure. Your foundership leadership, it always emphasizes not always, but most of the time emphasizes the involvement of everyone in the ecosystem as a leader, right? How they're involved in the community. And you just explained how you're engaging with the community, how your members, they engage with the community, and how they practice their leadership by taking that role serious, taking that role as their own, making it their own, and then coming back to the team and working with other members of the team that you've just talked about and bringing it to life. So I think that's amazing. I think that's absolutely amazing. I love it. I love that structure. It's the first time. It's new. It's innovative. It's a great structure. I'm wondering now, what role do partnerships and collaborations play in supporting the application of foundership leadership principles within your organization? Do you collaborate at all, or do you,
Yeah.
like mentioned, you mentioned using Google Ads, for example? Is that how you're collaborating, or do you collaborate with other companies using AI, or like what are you doing?
Yeah, so we do a lot. We have obviously we have social media, but there's the more organic route to connecting with the community, with other nonprofits, with other small businesses, with entrepreneurs in general. I network several times a week, and I get the pleasure of meeting all types of people from all different industries, because at the end of the day, anybody can be a volunteer. Anybody could be a donor. Anybody could be the next founder of the next nonprofit or the next, small business. So for me, it's really important to not just network with people, but really to leverage those connections. There's a lot of nonprofits. I don't think there's any that are like mine. There's a lot of youth basketball programs and things like that, but I don't think there's anything quite like Dunk4Dreams, because we take youth basketball and we pair it with a very robust curriculum that is soft skills and technology skills by design.
Yeah.
That is everybody's wheelhouse. Education is everybody's wheelhouse. Technology is everybody's wheelhouse. I look forward at the end of the month to speaking at an engagement to an audience of nonprofits and small business leaders about the fact that we need to recognize that while we all have different missions and different goals and different initiatives going on, we essentially serve one community. The individuals that we serve can benefit from our partnerships, where we can leverage those relationships and we can make them more efficient, and we can, source and procure not just participants, but the tools and the resources that they need. We actually are more impactful together. So even if, I decide to align with a nonprofit that's in a different part of the sports, has a different sports initiative, or is serving a different demographic, but still the same community here in Las Vegas, just inspiring those leaders and their volunteers to do what you do best. That's how you make the most impactful contribution. If I'm not really good at, going out and engaging people in public, but I am really good at social media, or I'm really good at, web design, or, fundraising activities. We should be aligning our leaders and our volunteers, our talents, with the roles where they can be most impactful, because that's where they're going to be happiest. It's where they're going to be most productive. And at the end of the day, again, when we're serving the entire community, we have more reach together. So if everybody, taps into their leadership attributes and they look at the problem as if they are a leader looking to solve for said thing, that they have the actual tools inherently to do, we can get a lot more done. The end goal or the problems don't seem as overwhelming or complicated.
See, I agree with everything that you're saying. And I think that when you said that no other nonprofits doing this, I feel like they're trying to do it, but they're not using the new innovation techniques to, they're not using the new way of working to make that organization grow into something bigger or better, or even like we're still experimenting technically. But when you said that you are total advocate for remote work, yeah, that is the future, really. Remote work, working, making sure that everyone's doing their own leadership, and then finding ways where they can use their talents to help the community. I agree with that. I think that the more you find what you want to do and use it to help others, then you're actually making more of an impact.
Yeah. And at the same time, still helping yourself. My volunteers, I ensure that they are getting something out of their volunteership beyond just saying, oh yeah, I volunteered for this really cool nonprofit. If they're a web designer and they're just starting off, they're relatively green in by way of their experience, I want for their project to incorporate, maybe new tech stack, things like that, different tools. So they're actually growing while they're volunteering, right? So they keep themselves challenged, right? That's really important because for some people, some of the volunteer opportunities that I've afforded, folks wouldn't have opportunities if they weren't afforded a volunteer opportunity. Women, the women especially in fields like technology, we see that there's not enough opportunities there. For young people, for older talent, the whole workforce has been impacted. People are looking for opportunities. Some people are going to have to reskill. Some people are going to have to change industries, and they're going to need the work experience to do that, to be able to go into those new opportunities, into those new fields and things like that. If we're not offering learning experiences by way of volunteership or work, people are not growing. So by, again, tapping into those inherent leadership skills, refining those skills, developing those skills, not only does it obviously help the organization and the participants that we serve, but it helps the individuals in their pursuits as well.
Talking with you got me to think of a possible bump in the road when it comes down to you showing those qualitative results at the end of the year, or however else you're supposed to show how your organization is impacting. And it made me think about how qualitative data, such as a person using what they know, challenging themselves as a leader, that comes in different levels, comes in different waves. Some person might challenge themselves a lot more than another person because this person can't handle, I'm just saying it like their mental blocks or whatever is stopping them from pushing themselves further, they're not capable at the moment to achieve a higher level of pushing themselves. So you're going to also have leaders that would push themselves too much, sometimes even too much, or not as much as other leaders. And so that's just, is that something you've already thought of or encountered?
Yeah. So as leaders, we have to be highly self-aware of what we are capable of doing by ourselves, by way of our people. If you're really good at motivating people, to take on challenges, to stretch themselves, then you're less likely to burn yourself out working in a leadership capacity. Because you're leading, but you have a team of leaders to support you. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but then that would burn out could burn out the people who are supporting you. Correct.
Which is why for me, with my team, I hire multiple people into these roles so that no one person feels like they're responsible for the entirety of a department or a process or an initiative, because it's just not fair. And to be honest, it's not sustainable because life is going to life. People are going to have other things come up, whether they're planned events or unplanned events. There are going to be things to come up. So it's really important as a leader to recognize, to see your people where they're at, meet them where they're at, help them to grow. And when they're struggling, you have to be there to clear those obstacles as well. And that's why week to week, I touch base with my people. I want to know what is working, what's not working, and what can I do to help.
I know that that could also get expensive. Technically, that's how the for-profit business would think. They're like, you have to do it at our demands because otherwise we're going to be spending more money than we need to. And then they stress people out because of said, profits or said their budget or whatever is there. So I'm wondering about that. But then I also want you to be able to answer what you would like to leave the audience with regarding Dunk4Dreams and its broader mission of equitable education and so forth. So if you want to answer one or the other or none, it's up to you.
So I do want to say this. I don't think there's any operation that is running leaner than a nonprofit in this particular market. The volunteers will come to me for resources, and it could be something as simple or small as like a plugin for the website to do some new robust feature that they need, or it could be hey, listen, we're getting ready to start this social media campaign and we want to test, we haven't tried it before, we want to test a new AI tool, And the exact same way that at corporate, you'd have to make a proposal, you'd have to make a request, you'd have to justify it, right? Because these are resources. We're asking for resources. My teams will put together very well thought out, comprehensive arguments for the tools that they need. And again, I pride myself on the fact that I haven't really told them no, not to resources. So I believe it can be done. I think that it is a absolutely unorthodox type of way of thinking to the traditional ways that organizations have been run. But there's an abundance of research and studies that have been done that absolutely infer that we can be remote, we can be flexible, we can have, transformational leadership, but at the same time, we can have distributed leadership. And I think those components kind of set the foundation for what I call founders leadership. And it's a whole ecosystem. It takes everybody. I could not have scaled Dunk4Dreams in the ways in which I have without this team and their contributions. They have to want to do these things. They are motivated to do these things. It's not because I'm motivating them. It's because they are in fact self-motivated, right? That's something that I encourage. They set their goals. They ascertain them. We celebrate those goals. We make more goals. The more goals that you set and you achieve, the more confident you feel about setting more goals, right? And we keep the needle moving.
Yep. And I completely agree with that. I'm wondering, how can anyone get involved within Dunk4Dreams? How can we reach you? What can we do to get involved? And so far, go ahead. Let us know.
Yeah. So we are always looking for volunteers. I cannot put enough emphasis on that. Of course, we're looking for sponsors. We're looking for donors. But volunteerism is particularly important to us. It is really the lifeline of this social enterprise that is Dunk4Dreams. I said before, I have an abundance of operations and positions that are available posted by way of volunteer match. You can see some of those on our social media. We're on all the platforms. But reach out if there's something you want to do that you don't see that there's a volunteer opportunity for, but you want to help us in our mission, and you think that there's something that there's a talent or a skill that you have and you feel like it would be well leveraged here, we want to hear from you. If you are just getting out of school and you want to figure out what's next, or you want to try out some new technologies and things like that, we want you to reach out to us. We want to talk about what that project might look like.
And what are your media platforms or an email that we can directly message?
Yeah, so you can get me directly at Zarina at Dunk4Dreams.org. We are Dunk4Dreams on all this, Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. Volunteers can go either to Volunteer Match, find us there and apply directly. You can also go to our website, which is www.Dunk4Dreams.org, where you'll find more information about the very exciting programs that we are launching at this time. And of course, our contact information and social media.
Thank you so much, Zarina, for this interview. We really appreciate your time and answering. You did an amazing job, and I'm super excited to see where Dunk4Dreams is in the future as well.
Thank you.
Bye, you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.